Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with Learn Plan Profit or Technical Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing Sunday. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I feel naked. I feel like a naked mole rat with my nasty, patchy mustache gone. But wanted to go live very quickly and talk about where the market currently sits, kind of like what's the plan for this upcoming week, what's on schedule, especially for some of our beginners that are joining us for the first time. I feel like especially right now with a lot of the fear that's being injected into the market, why not take some time and talk about it? So the first thing that I would encourage every beginner to do is, if you haven't done so already, get an economic calendar. We do provide you one for free at techbutsolutions.com under trading tools. It's just an investing.com calendar. You can find it on investing.com, or you can just use it on our platform. But the thing that I want to make sure you understand is this is supposed to lay out kind of the schedule for the week for any major economic event that is supposed to be released or reported. So like this week, you have your list on Monday, you have your list on March 11th, which is Tuesday, JOLTS job opening, something that's pretty important. And then Wednesday, in my opinion, is one of the biggest days this week. We have the CPI report, which is, again, the inflation report. If you've never paid attention to the inflation report, I plan to live stream it for free on my YouTube channel. So just another reason to subscribe if you guys haven't done so already. But CPI report is going to be very crucial because our previous CPI report showed that inflation was actually going up. And based off of our current expectation, we expect to go from 3.3% to 3.2%. So they actually expect it to go down. Again, just because that's the expectation doesn't mean that that is what has to be reported, right? So we'll see how that one plays out. And then on Thursday, normally following a CPI report or either the day before, there's a PPI report. In this case, it's the day after, Thursday, March 13th, 1 hour before the market opens. We have the core PPI and overall PPI report that is supposed to be released. Jobless claims, that's like the unemployment rate, continuing claims, all that stuff gets reported normally on Thursday. And then on Friday, March 14th, Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report, in my opinion, not always super important unless something gets released that, again, is just out of left field. But a pretty, I don't want to say it's a pretty normal week because an inflation report gets released once a week, but it's an important week to pay attention to the market, right? Especially Wednesday, 1 hour before the market opens. It's going to be a time to, if you see the market quickly gap up or quickly gap down, it's most likely because of this inflation report. So that's the first thing that I quickly want to talk about. Also, overnight hours is available on Weebull. If you ever want to download Weebull to try it out yourself, it's the trading application that I use. It's FDIC insured. It's US regulated. So it's the fifth link in the description down below. You don't have to download it. You don't have to use it if you don't see it to be useful. But in my opinion, again, it's a very useful trading application. It's the one that I use every single day when I trade live. Even like right now, they offer 24-hour trading. I actually have one share, right? Just like you've seen me in the past before. It's one share that I carry overnight, and you could see that, what is it? It's a position that I opened at $295 per share. Right now during overnight hours, it's down 6.57%. So this is a short position because it shows as -1 share. So we'll see. Look, we'll close it out very quickly. And just so you guys can see it, it should allow me to do it, include over trading hours. I just have to make sure that the limit order makes sense. Yep. And then I just click buy MSTR and it should allow me to get filled. I'm probably going to have to move it up a little bit more. There it goes. Just got filled. So boom, $18. There we go. So I'm able to close it out 24/7. And again, that is with my position on MS. It's not a position. It's just, I normally leave myself with one lucky share. And I just thought it'd be funny to close it out because the stock is down 6.53%. So what's the plan for this week? I want to keep it super short and sweet. Obviously, if you guys follow me on Instagram and even with some of my content I've been posting on different social sites, I love seeing the market pulling on back. The reason I love seeing the market pulling on back is because this is when deals truly do present themselves, right? But obviously, I've also been shorting the market. I don't have or didn't carry a short position on MSTR overnight, so I don't really gain a benefit of it selling off 6.5% as you saw, right? The thing that I want to pay attention to this week and tomorrow when the market opens is if the selling pressure continues. Is the market still concerned about the trade war? Are things going to get worse before they get better? Because we do not know, right? Things do look like they're just getting started, and things can definitely get worse before they get better. But again, markets have been incredibly bullish on the larger time frames. This is QQQ, and this is on the day chart. And just like I stated in today's earlier video, we're at a critical point. We're down 10% from all-time highs. And from the point that we're at right now, the market has either 10% of potential recovery to go back to previous all-time highs. So again, if you're bullish on the market, that might be an edge that you might want to take. But then if you're someone like me, I think that there's more potential downside. But I want to see and I want to wait for that selling pressure to present itself. And if that's the case, and the market sells off an additional 10%, that would put us in recession territory. For those that do not know, a recession is considered technically when the markets pull back at least 20% from previous all-time highs. So we're at a very critical point right now for the overall market. It's 10% away from all-time highs, and it's 10% away from a recession. So you can see that the market is somewhat in a pickle, and it's all based off of these tariffs. And it's also going to be how the Federal Reserve reacts. If the Federal Reserve, I truly do believe, right? Like it seems like Trump has selected or has decided that, he is going to continue with this trade war with different countries, right? Like I think that's very well understood now. Originally the market seemed to have been surprised. In the first place, I don't know why the markets were surprised. There's a few people that were commenting in one of the reels that I posted of, oh, this is all of Trump's fault, like blah, 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 blah. And don't get me wrong. The trade war is a reaction of Trump and his negotiation tactics with different countries. The part that just baffles me, that no one likes to talk about and no one likes to acknowledge, is back when the market started to skyrocket for no reason, just because Trump was elected or was the president-elect. He was projected to win. And as soon as that was the case, the markets began to push higher for longer. And if you go back to those videos, I made numerous videos highlighting of, hey, this makes no sense. They're like, well, Trump is crypto friendly. Oh, well, Trump is going to, boost the economy even higher. I was like, the market's already incredibly inflated, and now the market's pushing even higher when economic data doesn't support it. Now everyone begins to freak out when the market pulls on back. We're not even close to where we were before this Trump news originally was announced. So if anything, everything that we gained in the past 3 to 6 months should have not even happened, in my opinion. That catalyst, that push, all happened based off of the expectation that markets were going to thrive under Trump. But he made it very clear that when he was, expected to be elected, that he was going to use tariffs to negotiate. And if you have any form of common sense, you understand that tariffs always cause some form of pain, at least in the short term, hopefully for long-term gain. And we hope that they work. We don't know if they are, right? As of right now, it does look tough. It does look challenging. But I want to remind you, the whole reason that I'm saying all of this is that I want to make sure that you understand that the market always gets ahead of itself. The market is viewed as a leading indicator. It likes to factor things in advance before they actually happen. This is why you have this very notorious quote of buy the rumors, sell the news. When the whole Bitcoin reserve for the U.S. market or for the U.S. government got announced, the markets began to dump. But it's because, again, for Bitcoin, it got factored in advance. So it's just very unique things like this that once you look back, you can kind of see NASDAQ from once the news originally caused NASDAQ to push of, hey, Trump is going to be the president-elect, markets began to thrive. I think Tesla is a really great example of this. Tesla went from lows of, what was it, $230 per share, and then all of a sudden, it skyrocketed to highs of $488. How many of you guys remember when I made numerous videos And everyone was like, Ricky, you're just mad that you missed the train. Ricky, you're just a Tesla hater. Ricky, you just don't want to see Elon succeed. I was like, dude, I've been the biggest Tesla fanboy, the Elon fanboy ever, right? I've always appreciated Elon and his ability to innovate every market that he partakes in. That's always been my recognition to him, though always the way that I viewed him. But just because I respect someone doesn't mean that I have to be so narrow-minded, so blinded by the idea that this doesn't make sense. It was shooting up for no reason. Now that Tesla is down 50%, everyone's like, what the heck? Why is this happening? What do you mean? Why weren't you asking that same question when we were skyrocketing for no reason? People are always super one-sided. They always like to point the finger of, hey, this is happening to me. What the heck? But they never take time to acknowledge the very simple steps of what you could have done to understand the why. Yeah, there was a lot of money to be made during this big push, but you should have understood that it was short-lived. So now during this downturn, again, you simply cannot be surprised, right? All right. So now what's the expectation for this week? Knowing that we have a CPI report, knowing that the trade war news is still going on, my concern is that the markets have sold off so much, kind of like Bitcoin. Bitcoin has sold off so much already that I don't know if it's going to continue to sell off unless more negative news comes out. So maybe on Wednesday, if the inflation report comes out worse than what was expected and the idea of how the Federal Reserve is going to react is not bullish, then maybe markets can go lower. But as of right now, this is the reason that I don't like markets selling off so much over the weekend, because they sell off so much that now by the time the market opens on Monday, they start to recover. And by the time that they start to recover, then it makes more sense to go long than it does to go, short. So I want to make sure that I make that very clear for the few hundred of you that are paying attention. Please understand that just because markets are bearish doesn't mean that the markets have to continue to make new lows. So the idea of shorting, I know a lot of people are very focused, especially because of me, right? We're focused on shorting MSTR. MSTR is already down 6.3% during overnight hours. So by the time the market opens, if NASDAQ and Bitcoin begin to recover, MSTR will begin to recover, which would mean that no, it would not make sense to short MSTR. I would love to see one of two things. I would love to see MSTR try to recover as much as possible so then I can enter a short at overbought levels and the overall selling pressure continues to go in my favor, right? Because overall market sentiment is still bearish, right? If we look at the larger time frames, we can still see that not just with MSTR, but with Bitcoin and with the overall NASDAQ market, things are bearish based off of, the recent time frame. But please understand that we are so oversold that if we do begin to show any signs of a support, if Trump begins to share any news that he's going to delay or postpone these tariffs, he's going to pause. If there's any form of news that is, hey, the Federal Reserve might cut interest rates more than what was originally expected. In my opinion, the Federal Reserve is the only group that can actually save the market with what is going on right now. Just like back in 2020 with what we saw during the pandemic, the Federal Reserve had to step in and aggressively start cutting interest rates to start encouraging businesses and individuals to start borrowing money at super low rates. If that's the case, then yes, all these shit coins and all these Bitcoins and all these overvalued stocks will begin to skyrocket again, because again, they would have the condition and the environment to thrive in because rates are low due to the Federal Reserve. If the Federal Reserve begins to aggressively cut rates, that is not the expectation right now. To my understanding, the Federal Reserve only has 2 rate cuts planned for 2025, but a lot of people believe that with the markets dropping this aggressive, that Trump will try to persuade the Federal Reserve, which again, he shouldn't have any influence over. But again, I'm not here to say that he doesn't. I'm just here to say that he shouldn't, right? The president should never have influence on what the Federal Reserve is going to be doing. But we cannot be surprised that if there's enough pressure that is applied, then maybe the Federal Reserve can begin to cut interest rates quicker than what was expected and more than what was expected. And that would be a positive catalyst for the market. You guys know that I'm bearish. You guys know that I want the markets to drop even more, right? You guys know that. Regardless of what I have as my bias, I would never let that cloud my overall way of thinking. And I hope that you can see that within my videos. I hope that you can see that I, just as much as I like to take downside risk into consideration, I'm always optimistic about the upside. I always think about the other side. And the reason why is because there's always two sides to every opportunity. And I hope that if you learn one thing from any of my videos, it's simply just that. Never convince yourself that every trade, every investment that you take has to go according to just your plan. There's two sides to every opportunity. Your job is to manage risk, not to avoid it. So I'm going to list a series of stocks. I'm going to list 3 stocks that I'm paying attention to this week, and then I'm going to leave the last 2 to you guys. The first one is SQQQ. If markets do continue to sell off, I think SQQQ, which is not an investment vehicle, but it's a stock that I would consider trading. SQQQ goes up when the NASDAQ market goes down. As you can see, it's the inverse ETF. It's 3x leverage, meaning that if the NASDAQ market drops 1%, SQQQ will move up 3%. So when the market sold off 10%, what do you think SQQQ did? From lows to overall highs, it ran up 38% in 2 trading weeks. Again, SQQQ goes up when the NASDAQ market goes down. It's a way to be able to not have to short the market by being able to enter an ETF that is an inverse triple leverage ETF. Is it a super safe ETF to be invested in or to be trading? Well, no, because it's 3x the leverage. So please understand that. But I wanted to make sure that you were aware of what stock or ETF goes up when the NASDAQ market goes down for those that do not like shorting. The second stock that, of course, I'm going to be paying attention to is MSTR. In my opinion, I don't like when MSTR is a little bit more on the oversold side. I don't like when Bitcoin sells off over the weekend and then begins to recover by the time the market opens early the following week. So I'm not convinced that I'm going to short right at market open. But if I see the selling pressure continuing, then yes, I'd be more than happy to enter and open a short on MSTR as long as price action supports it. I just want to see progress on the downside. And if that's the case, based off of previous lows and the current price level, again, currently overnight hours, it's trading right around 270. And from previous lows, 220 per share, this thing has about 17 to 18% of potential downside. I would never pretend to be someone that would capture that entire move. But even if I capture a 5% sell off on MSTR, I would be more than happy with that. Again, my job is to get in, get out, make that money and bounce. You guys know that I'm like the opposite of those bag holders. I don't hold a position long enough to hope for something more to happen. I get in, I get out, I make my money, and I bounce. That is the way that I prefer to trade in this market full of chaos. And the third stock that I'm paying attention to is Tesla. I've said it once and I'll say it again. I'm a huge Elon fanboy, but I do not give two... I don't want to use foul language. I don't want to use... I do not care that I'm an Elon fanboy. If I see a trade opportunity on an overhyped up stock that never belonged at a $488 price per share or a $1 trillion valuation, I will short the living life out of it because, again, I am a trader before I care about my personal preference on what I think of an individual, right? My job is to find and seek an opportunity to identify and mitigate risk. And then at that point, if all of my criteria is met and I see that Tesla is continuously selling off because it's still overvalued and currently belongs at maybe $200 per share, then guess what? I will short it till it doesn't sell off anymore. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Please don't ever get it twisted. I do not care that I'm an Elon fanboy or that I support Elon. My job here is to make money, right? And there's so much downside potential that based off of how much it's sold off already, I get it. It might be viewed as a little scary. I'm not here to convince you that you should short Tesla. I'm not like other people. I don't need you to join me. I don't want you to copy me. I'm just here to share with you what my focus is for the week, so you're not surprised of, oh shoot, this guy shorted Tesla as Tesla sold off and he made money. I wish I would have known. Again, it's not about you doing the same thing that I'm doing. I just want you to understand why. Why would I consider shorting Tesla? I think Tesla was one of the most overvalued stocks in the start of 2025. It had huge pullback potential and it made complete sense on why it's come crashing down. And based off of the price level that it was at before Trump or Elon joined the Trump administration, I believe that Tesla will go below that. I think Tesla can go below $200 per share before it finds its support and begins to recover. I said this when Tesla was trading at $400, and I'll say it again. What's it called? Elon fanboy is cringe, bro. I don't care. The point that I'm trying to make with that is that I've openly talked about the people that I like and maybe the people that I don't like, but I don't allow the whole purpose of that is for me to highlight that I don't care about my personal bias. My job as a trader and in front of you guys is to seek opportunity. And I've said it so many times before. A lot of you guys know that, how do I say this? I definitely didn't vote for the other political, candidate that lost. But with that being said, just because I voted for the candidate that won, it doesn't mean that I'm going to blindly support that individual if they make stupid decisions. And I say this because I want us to be our own individuals. I want us to think openly. I want us to judge openly. That if we have a friend and just because they're our friend, they're doing something shitty, we need to call them out for their BS. Just like this, right? If the person that we elected or voted into power is doing things that we do not agree with, why wouldn't we speak out about it? Why would we pretend that we're okay with tolerating that form of leadership? And that's the whole thing that I'm trying to say. There's things that I agree with and there's things that I don't. I'm not here to say that my opinion is key, but I have my opinion, right? I'm never going to agree with someone with every decision that they make. That would be so naive for anyone to think. And I think it's an important conversation to have, especially in this world where everyone is so divided. There's one thing I say and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that you support the dude. And then there's another opinion that I might have where I don't support him. And they're like, well, I can't believe you're against him. And again, that's the whole point of having an opinion as an individual, is you're not going to see eye to eye with millions of other people. And that's okay, right? All right. Anything major, yeah. All right. Is there, I wanted to see if there were two more stocks that you guys would like me to break down within this live stream. Can you talk Fed and CPI? We talked about it in the earlier part of this live stream. CPI report this Wednesday, an expectation is 3.2% versus the expectation of 3.3%. We'll see. Once we get a little bit closer to Wednesday, I'll be making numerous videos about the CPI report, what the expectation is, and I'll break down the previous CPI report. So just, again, as long as you're subscribed to the channel, you should be good. Okay. Well, what I want to ask you is, when I ask you what top stock you're paying attention to, you guys are listing a bunch of different stocks. Are you buying them or are you shorting them? I don't know. Because are you guys all telling me, like people that are listing Nvidia, AMD, Carvana, Meta, you're telling me that you're buying that stock this week with the intention to make money as markets are selling off? That's what you're telling me? That's what I'm trying to ask is for this week, if the goal is to make money this week as a trader, not as an investor, but as a trader, what is one stock you're paying attention to make money? Are you shorting it or are you going long on it? Short Nvidia. That's an interesting one. I got to pull it up, obviously. A lot of you guys know that I love Nvidia, right? And I think Nvidia is one of the few companies that I wish I would have been invested in a little bit earlier on. But even with how much it's pulled back already, don't get me wrong, it looks like a very good deal based off of previous patterns. But if this downturn ends up being a lot worse than what was expected, That's the part that excites me about this. A lot of people like to complain about, oh my God, markets are dropping, the sky's falling. The only people that are complaining are those that don't have any more money to buy the dip. And that's their own fault. That's their fault that they bought at all-time highs. That's not your fault. That's not my fault, right? That's their problem. This is exciting. If you really view what this is even if this is the bottom and markets begin to recover, that means that I can buy Nvidia at a discount. Or if markets do continue to sell off for Nvidia, a lot of people are saying that this thing can go sub $100 per share. If you look at previous patterns, it does have a previous support range of right around $100 to $90 per share. And that's super exciting. That is so exciting because, again, you get to buy it at a discount. This thing was trading at highs of $153 per share. It's a very well-run company. They have great projections for 2025 and 2026. The only thing that's negatively impacting this is, of course, the overall economy, right? If there is trade war, if there is this concern of the Federal Reserve is not going to cut interest rates as much as they originally expected, then again, this thing can downturn a little bit more. So do I see potential in the market selling off or Nvidia selling off a little bit more? I mean, I feel like Nvidia has been pretty volatile. If you look at it for the past few days, it has these nice little upticks, but then aggressive sell-offs, right? If we use this little trend line tool here from overall highs to overall lows, that's about a 4% sell-off. That was on Thursday. And then from the big uptick that we had to the overall sell-off, that's a 5% sell-off, 4.8 to nearly 5%. That's amazing, right? We're talking about $1 trillion company. This is not a penny stock. This is not one of your shit coins. This is a multi-trillion-dollar company, one of the most valuable companies that's publicly traded. And it has these huge reversals, these huge downturns, then these huge upswings. Like, that's so exciting. There's so much money to be made if you know how to trade the market. And as you guys can see on the 5-minute time frame, it's much easier to see these sell-offs and these recoveries than it is on the 1-minute time frame. The 1-minute time frame looks a little bit crazy with all this volatility. On the 5-minute time frame, in my opinion, it kind of slows things down. And that's the part that's super exciting, is that we've always preached it with our Learn Plan Profit group, is if you give the market the time it needs to paint its picture for the day, there's a lot of money to be made. I love trading reversals, both overbought reversals and oversold reversals. And there's so much money to be made with so many different stocks. A lot of you guys know that I've been focused on MSTR. I think it's a terrible company. Of course, it's a shit stock, but you don't have to focus on MSTR. I get that it's very volatile. You can focus more on quality companies like Nvidia, quality companies like maybe Amazon and Google and maybe Meta that offer more consistent returns. The reason I like trading MSTR and I like shorting it is because I like talking shit on it. It's very fun for me. A lot of people don't like it, and it makes me want to do it even more, right? It's been these past few weeks, past few months, talking about MSTR, shorting MSTR, and all the money I've made shorting MSTR. It's been one of the most enjoyable trading experiences I've had in a really long time. And I feel like the people that are with me and that understand what it is that I'm doing, they love it. They love every moment of it. The only people that are complaining in my comment section are those that are bag holding. And I get it. I would be mad too if I was down 50%. Trust me. So let's go ahead and break down a second stock. What is a second stock that you would like me to break down? I like that. So we talked about shorting. Yep. Nvidia, definitely. And the other one that I think would be important to pay attention to, I think one company that has been performing absolutely terribly is SMCI. Do you guys remember when I made a video on SMCI and I called it out for its bullshit up here? Every single time. Like, how, you guys have to admit, like, I've been pretty on top of this, BS radar, right? SMCI began to pump because it was supposed to file on time on the 25th of February. They did file on time, but it was terrible. Their actual earnings versus what was expected was terrible. This whole upswing, it went from $25 per share to highs of $66, all because it was expected to file on time and hope that they don't get found for accounting fraud. And again, for now, they disclose that no, they weren't found for accounting fraud, but it doesn't mean that in future earnings, they will not always file on time. They have internal issues. And that's been made very clear. And I've said this about SMCI. SMCI seems to be a company that does generate billions of dollars, but it's a terribly ran company. The CEO is absolute dog water. And this is not the first time that SMCI, gets delisting notices. There's been many times, if you look back to its history, that it aggressively pumps and then it aggressively dumps. And then just people get surprised by this, right? You just have to be very careful with specific stocks like this as they continue to show signs of big pumps and big dumps. And when I called it out for its BS, some people thought that this thing was going to go to $100 per share. It is now down about 50% after it hit highs of $66, now trading at lows of $37. I think that if the market continues to sell off, SMCI can go back down to $30 per share. It's currently trading right around $37.50, and based off of previous lows, if we do go back to $30 per share, that's a 20% downturn. Now, of course, if SMCI begins to show signs of consolidation and potential recovery, then there's huge recovery potential because, again, SMCI is not trading off of fundamentals. It's trading off of momentum, and that does come at an extra layer of risk. So please avoid this if you're a complete beginner. All right. Oh, there's another one that, so oversold. What do you think about TGT? Yeah, there's a few companies that sold off over the week. Target being one of them, but there's actually a reason on why Target sold off. I would look into the news behind that. I believe it lost like millions, if not billions of dollars off of a suit or something like that. I'll have to look into it. But no, TGT does look oversold, but I don't know if I would consider buying it right now during this downturn, especially if things get worse before they get better. This thing's been on a consistent downturn since its highs of 244, and I'm not here to pretend like I can predict the bottom of a stock. When stocks like this are aggressively selling off and it looks like there's no hope for them to recover, I'm not going to be here to pretend like we can just find the bottom, and just expect it to recover. It's a bearish stock right now. I want to respect that. I think it would make more sense to short this than it would to go long. The only other stock that I quickly want to talk about, and this would be more of a safer play, and it's not that it's safe to buy right now, it just tends to have a more bullish price action. Again, I still think that it's overbought big picture. Nonetheless, it's Costco. Costco is not a super fancy tech company. It's just a very well-ran stock. It's a very well-ran business, and its stock performance is amazing. Again, if markets do recover, again, this is not something that offers an insane amount of recovery potential. But if it does recover, it offers about 10%. And again, this is more maybe for our beginners. If you're learning how to just get into this, I feel like this is more of a stock that you would learn how to walk before you run. It's an incredibly bullish stock long-term. Again, just because it's been bullish before doesn't mean that it has to continue, but it's a stock that I'm paying attention to because I just respect how well it's been ran and how well it's been trading for the past few years. And again, if you don't believe me, do your own due diligence. Fundamentally and technically, it's an incredibly bullish stock. It does have downturns, but overall, it tends to be more bullish than bearish. I hope to see that Costco sells off more so I can load up on my long-term portfolio. But for now, again, it's just the stock that I'm watching and seeing if it finds support, if it finds a support soon and then begins to recover. So, all right. Okay. So you're the man. I like the energy and you speaking on your shit in the BS, unlike other investors always telling you to buy this and buy that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's like you would think with, and I mean, I understand it, why I get some of the distasteful comments in either my YouTube videos or my reels that I post on Instagram. It's because I openly call people out for their bullshit, right? I call crypto for what I think it is, and it's an absolute market full of a bunch of idiots that mindlessly buy and pump these coins that have no intrinsic value. They create their value or think about what their value will be in the future while it has no active utility right now. And I call it out for what it is. But again, like fundamentals mean nothing when markets are being manipulated. I view crypto as a pump and dump. I've always viewed it that way. And I think that, there's money to be made trading it. But when it comes down to being invested in it, unless you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, no, I don't believe you'll make a ton of money investing into Bitcoin. unless you're really good at finding at specific price levels, when Bitcoin crashes and let's say it drops back down to $30,000 per coin, then yeah, maybe you can buy a few coins at $30,000. But even then, you would need tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to really make a decent return. When I see these meme stocks being promoted, you would think that I would get the same hate if I was promoting these meme stocks. You would think that I would get hate if I was like, hey, yeah, everyone buy Ethereum, everyone buy Bitcoin, everyone buy Trump coin. How easy would that be? I have companies that reach out to me all the time. They always talk to me about wanting to promote their crypto platform or new coins that they're launching. When have you ever seen me promote anything like that? Never, because I don't care for it. Because I think that for beginners, I think it's more important to look out for them and how risky something might be versus blindly hoping for something to happen. And don't get me wrong, I know that some meme coins do skyrocket. There's always that one-off chance. Just like a pump and dump, just like GameStop, just like AMC. There are those one-off opportunities that, wow, it really did go parabolic. But it's all short-lived. And that's a fact. That's not an opinion. There is not one Bitcoin. There's not one crypto. There's not one pump and dump that has ever pumped and held at those levels. Because the truth will always come out when markets enter downturns. Markets and crypto markets will never thrive during bearish conditions. I view crypto markets as a luxury market. They only do exceptionally well during bull runs, when people have a lot of money or when money can be borrowed at very low rates, because it's always kind of like, yeah, sure, I guess I'll just throw in $1,000 and see where it goes. That's always what crypto has been to me, right? And for most people, no one cares about crypto or altcoins when they're trying to provide for their family or keep a roof over their head. In my opinion, that is true. Why would anyone care about this crypto market when we have real things that are impacting our lives? But again, people like to take it super personal. They don't like when I don't agree with their narrative. It almost reminds me of politics, that if I'm not with them, I'm against them. And I'm at least happy to do it, right? Because although from the time that I started talking about Bitcoin was at all-time highs and the markets were at all-time highs. I've made numerous videos while Trump was the president-elect, and I've always called it out for what it is. Markets are overhyped up. Markets are overvalued. They do not belong at these levels because to me, fundamentally, it didn't make sense. But again, no one cares about that when markets are pumping. But then now that the markets are downturning, they're like, oh my God, you're against us. I can't believe you're doing this. Why are you excited about markets pulling on back? And it's because we've been preparing for it. We've made a ton of money during this downturn. And if markets do bottom out soon, cool. I'll buy the dip with most people for those that have the cash and don't get margin called, and we'll make money as markets recover. But if markets do continue to sell off, I welcome it. The more it sells off, the better. And I get excited by it because, again, we're not stressing out about being over leveraged. And it's the same BS over and over again. The same issue that caused the 2021 to 2022 crypto crash. I think this time it could be a lot worse. I think that what Michael Saylor is doing will only create more of a negative catalyst and more of a negative impact into the crypto market. That's my opinion. That's what I think. I think that things will be so devastated because of his action of borrowing against investors and buying at all-time highs, that if he is forced to liquidate, it will push crypto and Bitcoin further back than it ever has in its past. But again, it's just an opinion. I've said it before that I think that Michael Saylor is the whole Sam Bankman-Fried scenario times 10, and I still stand by that. I have a very simple message that I love to share with people that love to encourage others to buy Bitcoin. They like to call crypto and Bitcoin and compare it to gold. They're like, well, Bitcoin's like gold. You can't make more of it. That's always what they used to say, right? I don't remember ever being convinced that I need to buy gold. I don't ever remember hearing from hundreds of people that know if I don't buy gold, I'm an idiot. Like, why, if something is so valuable, do you need to convince others to do it? At that point, it's not value. It's value that you're creating, right? Bitcoin has no utility. Bitcoin originally stemmed off of the idea that it didn't want any government involvement. And then now you are begging for the government to be involved. You wanted the US government to buy Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin sold off after it created its Bitcoin crypto reserve, because even the US doesn't want to buy Bitcoin with tax-paying dollars. It's only going to use and keep Bitcoin that it's seized, right? So again, it's the same BS over and over again. Originally, we were going to skyrocket in Q1 of 2025, and now they're talking about that we're going to skyrocket in Q2 or Q3. I have a very simple question that I think every bag holder should ask themselves is, at what point, how much do you have to lose to cut losses or to close out your trade? Like, if you were to tell me I was driving today and I'm in my Ferrari, I'm not saying this to like brag. I'm just like, I just felt like I needed to share this because I think it's a great analogy. A guy pulled up next to me and he was in this like Honda, this modified Honda. It was a pretty car, don't get me wrong, but I'm in my Ferrari F8, right? I have a $300,000 car, and he commented, and I don't race people, but he said, "Hey, I'll race you for pinks," is what he said through my window, right? And I laughed and I said, I just gave him a thumbs up and I went on. But that's what I feel like Bitcoin holders or crypto traders are kind of doing. Because, imagine if I said, sure, let's race for pinks. I have a $300,000 Ferrari. He has a $20,000 vehicle. My risk to reward is, yeah, sure, I could possibly win $20,000, right? But I can lose $300,000. But imagine that. And this is the part that baffles me about all of this, is that there are so many people in crypto, so many people that were invested in, a bunch of overhyped up stocks that never took profits. They were up 100, maybe 500, maybe 1,000%. I've seen some numbers of some crazy returns when being invested, but they never sell. And that's the part that baffles me, is you are literally in a position where your potential reward no longer outweighs your potential downside risk, where your downside risk is so much greater than your potential reward. So to me, I feel like at one point when crypto was trading at all-time highs or even close to it, it's so mind-boggling that people didn't take profits. People would always talk about, I think Bitcoin's going to hit highs of $120,000 per coin, and that's when I'll sell. Imagine that. We're trading at 109, 105, even $100,000 per coin. And you're not going to take profits because you could possibly make 20%, but the downside risk is what, 50 to 70%, maybe 80%? And this is why I just don't feel bad for crypto bros. I just don't. I feel like, again, we live in a world where you don't deserve anything. You earn everything. You put yourself in a position in which you can tolerate. But it's the same BS story over and over again. You holding a position after being up 150% to give it all back is not being an investor. It's being a bag holder, and you're just hoping to get lucky. And I just hope that you can learn from your mistake, that you treat trading or investing for what it is, and its numbers and ratios. If your potential downside begins to outweigh your potential upside, know when to take profits. At that point, it's the greed that is overwhelming you. So I hope that you can learn from it. I hope that it puts you in a better position where you can make a ton of more money if markets do recover, or maybe on the next bull run. But I hope that you approach it in a more intelligent way. So I appreciate your time. I hope to see you for tomorrow's live trading session. If you guys want to tune on in, it's the second link in the description down below. And I'm excited to do it all in front of you guys. If markets continue to sell off, I'll short MSTR in front of you. If markets do begin to recover, we'll see what trade opportunity presents itself that we can take advantage of during tomorrow's live. Again, hope to see you there. Second link in the description down below. With the current sale we have going on, it breaks down to $1.35 per day if you want to join. If not, again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, team.